Hey, FUB stars. Got an exciting video for you today. We're going to go through buyer pending transaction management automation in Follow Boss. So Follow Boss is an awesome CRM, but it does have some limitations around automating transaction management or doing transaction management at a high level. So if you really want to optimize your transaction management, open to close is probably the way to go. But up until now, there's been a big gap between what Follow Boss could do and what Open to Close can do. And so we're going to bridge that gap. So if you want to do transaction management at a high level, you can do it all within Follow Boss. But again, we love Open to Close here. So that is also an option if you want to do it at a really optimal level. To start, I'm going to go over a quick overview. I've set up a couple of forms that we're going to be submitting through the embedded app. One of them is a buyer pending form that an agent would submit when they get an offer accepted. And then we have a second buyer pending approval form that a TC would submit, which would allow them to review all the data that the agent has submitted and then submit a secondary approval form, which would then trigger all of the automation to go out to the client and to the lender. So you don't have bad information going out to people. We all know agents aren't great at this stuff. So we have a buyer pending form. So this will collect all the info related to the transaction, lead type, price, commission, transaction type, address. Is there a secondary client? The form has conditional logic. So some of these fields will only appear based on other fields. And then we have a buyer pending approval form. And this is pretty much the same form, except I have this question to start by typing my name below. I certify under penalty of death that all docs have been executed and I've entered all info above to the best of my ability. So this field is actually on the bottom of the buyer pending form and it gets pre-populated to this form. So this form can't be submitted unless the buyer pending form has been submitted first. So to prevent agents from submitting the wrong form. And so it's some of the controls that we can build in. So that's an overview of what we're going to be going into today. And now I'm going to go back into Follow Up Boss and submit the form. Now we are back in Follow Up Boss. I'm going to go over to the form. So opportunity forms are associated with deals. They will create or update a deal when submitted. So I'm going to go to our buyer pipeline and now I get my buyer forms. And so you can see we have a buyer pending form and we have a buyer pending form for approval. And so first I'm going to go to this to show you what would happen if this is the first form selected. So if I go here, now I get this error message. Buyer pending form has not been submitted yet. Please have agent submit the buyer pending form. So this form can't be submitted until the buyer pending form is submitted. So now I'm going to go back to the buyer pending form and we're going to submit that. All right, now we are going to enter the buyer pending form. Generated regular transaction. Yes, there's an admin fee, buyer's paying. We can pre-populate data, so that's entered automatically. Secondary client, yes. So secondary client will get added as a relationship. Cool. agent. So what I've noticed from doing this is the teams that do the most transactions have their agents submit the most info. The deal they have is all the agent has to do is submit the form, and then everything else just happens, and we automate as much as possible. And then the team handles the rest. So we can store companies you use repeatedly, but then if you select other, the form is dynamic. So if it's a loan financing type, then we'll get additional fields. If it's cash, then the fields won't appear. So we're going to say how many days beyond the acceptance date the inspection contingency is due, and the loan contingency, and this will calculate the correct date and put it into custom fields. And then here is our certification field saying that we've gotten our RPA signed and all the data has been entered accurately. Now we're going to submit. Oh, and we accidentally put a couple dots instead of one. So form ensuring the data is entered accurately and submit. All right, so now we get a note with everything that was entered on the form. Our forecasted close date added, buyer pending address. Our inspection contingency due date was calculated. Our loan contingency due date was calculated. Escrow company info we entered was added. We selected Jason Smith, and the mortgage company and contact details were added automatically. And our deal was added with the address as the name and the price added automatically. Our TC was added. Our secondary agent was added. Buyer pending tag was added. Stage was updated to pending. Relationship was added for the secondary client. Now we're going to go over to email. So this email sent to tc@interface.re. I have this coming into my email so we can look at it, but now this is what the TC would get. So it has all the info from the form, and TC can just click here and it'll pull them right to the lead record. And so now the TC is going to finish the process. So now this tile is associated with this deal. I can go into this tile and go to the buyer pending form approval. And now we don't have that error message anymore because the pending form was already submitted. So all this data is pre-populated. TC could just go and review everything. And if everything looks good, no submit. And now the rest of the automation will. So we get a note with everything. Now a new action plan runs with all the tasks for your transaction. And now a notification will be sent. So I'm going to go back into email. And then we have our notification. And here's the email to the lender. So this would be the notification that they would get, letting them know the buyer is under contract and we need to get started on getting their loan documents in. And so the lender would only get the data that they need, and our notification to the client. And so now all the data from custom fields have been mapped to the client. And then we also have data that has been added to the deal. So this is how you can do some really super advanced transaction management automation in FUB. Thank you.